On the financial side, our expenditures are right about where we expected them to be for this time of the year. We're halfway through the year now. And revenues about the same. Our federal income is showing down a little bit. That's just, it takes a while for the claims to catch up, so that'll even up a little bit there too. And I just had some news to share with you tonight. I wanted to let you know that we just finished we just wrapped up our 2021 financial audit, and it was the cleanest that it's been since I started working here 5 years ago. So, yeah. And that's all I have for you tonight, unless you have any questions.
Any questions from the board? All right. We'll move on to hearing from individuals and groups. And the first person is Rick Kratzer. I always say it wrong, so I don't say it.
Do we have a mic for Rick?
This one isn't very good. No,
It's for the stream, more so. Perfect. Yeah, I just got my voice back, actually, from yelling like a weekend ago, so this is good. All right, first of all, just like last time, I have to start by asking for a round of applause for our board members. These are volunteers. Don't know how you guys do it. All right, so this year is going by so fast, I can't even believe it. I told Randy I was going to talk about turkey hunting, and I'm going to. I was thinking about it, and I love hunting, and turkey hunting it's like miniature elk hunting. I just love elk hunting, and turkey hunting's great too. Okay, and no, I'm serious. I'll tie this in a second. The school board is like a miniature version of our legislature, right?
Are you calling us turkeys?
No. Yeah, he is.
Only if you act like one. So, I mean, we're your constituents. We elect you guys to speak for us and for the community, and we need you to help make the policies and vote the way that the overall community would vote. And I think we need to do more to figure out what the community wants. From what I know, Eatonville is overwhelmingly conservative. And I feel like we're pushing conservatives out. And, I hear people, all week I've had people messaging me and sharing things with me and things that they want me to relay because they knew I was going to come here tonight. And, we could sit here and say this stuff all day to you guys and over, all these little topics, and they all matter. If somebody feels like they're, getting the short end of the stick, they need to speak up. But not everybody can get up here and talk. The communication that we have with you guys doesn't work. Not everybody's comfortable doing this. I'm not comfortable doing this. Not everybody wants to write a letter, and not everybody can. The education, honestly, is going downhill, and it's not your guys' fault. We want to fix this. We need your help to fix all of it. We need more feedback. We need more communication. We need to hear more from you guys. I mean, I'm trying to talk to all you guys individually as much as I can. But the community needs to see what you guys are doing so they're not mad at you. And then you guys aren't mad at them when they come in here and, Paulette feels like we're ganging up on her or something, We're not ganging up on anybody. We're here together. We need to fix all these problems. It's getting ridiculous. And I'm sitting here racking my brain. How could we get more people to come to these meetings? I'm coming up with all these awesome ideas like, maybe we need childcare so more parents can actually show up when they got little ones. You know how many people can't be here tonight? They messaged me and said, hey, thanks for the invite, but I can't because I got kids. Well, this is about kids, but they can't come because they got kids. So my wife would never bring our kids here. My kids would tear this place apart. You have no idea. If you don't believe me, I'll bring them next time and I'll show you. You just have to tell me ahead of time that I'm not responsible for
We
it.
believe you.
Okay. So, and then I had an idea, well, let's get the restaurants in town to have specials before the meeting so we can turn 1,000 people out here. I've been thinking, how can we do that? But even if we had 1,000 people here tonight, the outcome wouldn't change. You guys would hear what we have to say, and you would try to help us with the things you made notes of and do what you can. But there's a lot of things your hands are tied on. And the public might not even see the things you do to actually fix any of the stuff that they talk about. We don't have a way to see what you do. We don't. You might, the website, I've never even gone on it myself. I don't do that. Never even seen social media personally. So, and we need to get back to where maybe we're doing more of the survey thing that I think you guys could do, or maybe we need to find a new way to do it better, where every single parent and whatever taxpayers want the survey to go to them in the community, they need to have a say. And if we did that, these meetings would almost not need to happen. We could just show up just to, smile at you guys, clap our hands like at the beginning of my talk, and then we could just say, okay, we don't have anything bad to say, have a good night. And you guys could do your business, be home, and time for dinner for once, right? So, yeah, just pretty much all the stuff I had listed that I'd want to talk about, the actual issues, you guys already know them. You really do. I know you do. I'm sure some folks here will share some of those with you, but my biggest issue is we got to start figuring out the communication thing. It's not working, and it's causing some serious, whatever it is, anger, friction. Exactly. So, anyway, thank you.
Thank you. Amanda, we have another person coming up. Sammy Joe?
You guys hear me? Yes, no? Okay. So first of all, thank you very much again for opening up the forum so that the folks who wanted to attend had space to attend. We thank you for that. And I know it's not easy, so thank you very much, and big appreciation to your IT folks. And congratulations on the budget thing. That's huge. I'm just saying. So last month when we came, we talked about a resolution, basically requesting a resolution from our school district with our community saying that basically parents are the stakeholder in their children's education. And so I dug up the one that we spoke about and would just like to read it to you to say this is kind of what we're looking for, where it would be an acknowledgement that parents are this primary stakeholder in their kids. So if I may read it to you, and then if you want to scrap the idea, you can scrap the idea, but this is what I was talking about. This one's from Tonasket School District, number 404, Okanogan County, Washington. And it says, recognizing parents' rights, stakeholder authority, and political participation. Whereas on September 29th, 2021, the National School Board Association sent a letter to President Joe Biden stating their concerns about the rising violence and intimidation against school board members. This letter stated, quote, as these acts of malice, violence, and threats against public school officials have increased, the classification of these heinous actions could be the equivalent to a form of domestic terrorism and hate crimes, unquote. This statement has led to concerns that the NSBA is asking the president to label some parents as domestic terrorists and to limit the protected speech of parents. And whereas on September 30th, 2021, President Joe Biden's Education Secretary Miguel Cardona said parents shouldn't be the quote-unquote primary stakeholder in their children's education during his testimony before the Senate Committee on Health, Education, Labor, and Pensions. And whereas parents are the primary stakeholders in their children's education, and whereas as stakeholders, parents are responsible for what their children are taught, and whereas being responsible, parents have the unalienable right to be a part of the political process. Whereas the Tonasket School District Strategic Plan Goal number 6 states, parent and community engagement. Engage our diverse community in partnerships that support families, learning at home, making educational decisions, and collaborations. And whereas Tonasket School Board Policy 4130, Parent Involvement, states, the board recognizes that parent involvement contributes to the achievement of academic standards by students participating in district programs. The board views the education of students as a cooperative effort among school, parents, and community. The board expects that its schools will carry out programs, activities, and procedures in accordance with the statutory definition of parent involvement. Parental involvement means the participation of parents in regular, two-way, and meaningful communication involving student academic learning and other activities, including and ensuring that parents, 1, play an integral role in assisting their child's learning, 2, are encouraged to be actively involved in their child's education at school, and 3, are full partners in their child's education and are included as appropriate in the decision-making and on advisory committees to assist in the education of their child. Be it resolved that the Tonasket School Board urges, number 1, the National School Board Association, even though they have rescinded their September 29, 2021 letter to President Joe Biden, publicly declare their affirmation for parents as primary stakeholders and the political participants in the defense of their children's education, well-being, and future. And 2, the Washington State School Board Association publicly declare their affirmation for parents as primary stakeholders and political participants in the defense of their children's education, well-being, and future. And number 3, the Washington State Legislature passed a bill to ensure that parents are protected from the political weaponization of labels and government that in the instances listed above would infringe on the parental stakeholder responsibilities and political participation opportunities. Be it further resolved that the Tonasket School Board send a copy of this resolution to WSSBA, the Washington State Department of Education, the NSBA, and the legislators representing Okanogan County, where they're located. And it would be signed, adopted the Board of Directors of Tonasket School District. So that's kind of what we're looking for. And the reason the word stakeholder is used is because that's what's used in the law. So thank you. I appreciate you listening to me.
Thank you. All right, thank you very much. We'll move on to unfinished business.
Can we have one of the student speakers? Taylor just asked if she could say where she wasn't aware that she had to sign up.
Absolutely.
Here's our student representative, Taylor. There you are.
I'm gonna come down here so it doesn't seem as like I'm up here and everybody's like staring. Okay, so I'm Taylor. I'm a senior at the high school right now. I just wanted to talk about some things that are going on inside of the high school and kind of like what I'm seeing just with the student life, just because I think it's important to kind of get a student aspect on what's going on. So currently, I sent this to one of the board members as well. I just want to talk about kind of like the substance abuse we have going on, bullying, depression, the things that we have going on at the high school. I think it has increased rapidly since COVID has came into our lives. And I just have, it's really long, but I'll speed it up a little bit. But so as a full-time student at the high school, I see a lot that goes on in the hallways, the bathrooms, and classrooms. We are dealing with constant abuse of substances such as marijuana, vaping, and alcohol. Unfortunately, this is not the only issue that has arisen since COVID has declined. There is more bullying, violence, and depression within the school as well. Since I have been back, I can truly say that I've seen these acts taking place at school, and I've only been back for 3 months. As this is a concern of mine, I would like to bring more light to the situation and give more student-based outlook for understanding. First off, I would like to state that we need more advertising of counseling services and anonymous messaging lines. Most recently, there was an Instagram page that was created by a student where anonymous messages could be sent and posted for others to see publicly. Messages that were posted included suicide, sexual assault, drugs, and other miscellaneous topics. Some were harmful and some were not. Although I believe that no one should be receiving advice on how to deal with depression and such other topics from another high school individual, I do think that speaking anonymously to someone seemed to help, which is why I believe that advertising of counselors and talking to licensed people anonymously would be extremely beneficial for these students. Secondly, I would like to address the excessive violence happening from bullying in schools as well. There have been multiple fights in the last month between students in public areas, such as the lunchroom during lunch. There was recently a fight that broke out between 2 individuals for almost 5 minutes before it was stopped. Might I remind you, this took place in the lunchroom in front of everybody. My question is, what if this fight happened in the basement or the bathroom, where staff members are not present? How badly could one of these students be injured? And why isn't there more strict punishment or rules that are broke for students who break these rules? I remember when I was a freshman, if severe rules were broken, you were sent straight to detention or suspension. There was no room for violent errors, which is what kept students from wanting to fight each other or breaking common courtesy rules. Continuing on with the topic of bullying, bullying has also been an issue in schools, and it always has been. I was a victim of extreme bullying in middle school, and if I'm being honest, I was very miserable. I didn't want to go to school. I was harassed by students in the hallways, calling me names and spreading rumors about me. I know how it feels, and I wish I had somebody to stick up for me while at school. While I did have my parents to stick up for me through the office's perspective and explain my situation, nothing was ever done. For me, my 8th grade year was miserable, and there was nothing that I could do. I do not want this scenario happening to other students, especially when there are so many good people in this school district to say something and stick up for others. I want to speak on behalf of the students who are scared to say something and fear of things becoming worse. With that being said, I'm going to share a statement from an individual who is being bullied at the school. This individual experienced rude remarks such as, "I'm going to kill you," the B word, and "you're ugly." This student also recently sent an email to the administration that says they do not feel safe and protected at the school. I don't think this is okay, and bullying like this should never get this bad. There was also an incident where a teacher was rude to a student. So if teachers are not respecting the students, how can we expect students to respect each other? Teachers also need to be more observant of what's going on in their classrooms, hallways, and buses. A student should never feel like their life is in jeopardy when attending school. I'm asking that as a whole, students, teachers, and administrators and parents be more mindful of bullying. It hasn't gone away. I also ask that when these bullies are identified, that they need to be talked to and disciplined. Bullying is never going to get better if the bully isn't directly talked to, and that even then, after a talk has happened, the individual who is being bullied should be observed and talked to as well. Lastly, I want to talk about the astronomical use of drugs on school grounds. I am a senior in high school and have seen multiple people vape in the bathroom since I was a freshman. It was a rare occasion to see when I was a freshman because teachers were constantly patrolling the bathrooms. This year, it has increased rapidly. For reference, every time I go to use the restroom during school, there are at least 3 students vaping, and might I add, completely wide open, not even in a stall. Students know that teachers and administrators aren't patrolling bathrooms like they used to when I was a freshman. So there's no reason to hide it anymore, as you can tell. Not only are students vaping, they are taking inappropriate amounts of over-the-counter drugs. There have been 2 overdoses in the last 2 days where paramedics were called to provide medical assistance to these students. We do not only acknowledge that students are doing these things they should not be doing, but we need to provide information about these substances and what they can do to your body. Vaping is illegal under the age of 18, so how are all these students in possession of them? I know that this type of behavior can be drastically changed because I've seen it. So my question is, why aren't things like this being fixed immediately like they were in the past? Why is security not being enforced to not only prevent substance abuse, but to also observe what is being said to students in the hallways? There is so much that can be done to help with this issue. It just needs to be done and done quickly before another student overdoses and is rushed to the hospital. I feel that the school administration and teachers have lost control of the students as a whole, and until there is effective disciplinary actions in place, this will continue. I love Eatonville High School. I've been a part of the district for 13 years. I love the teachers, the administration, and the students, but there are things that need to be brought to the district's attention, and these issues are important and getting worse. With that being said, I'm hoping for more change to be implemented into the high school for the sake of our students. Thank you.
Thank you, Taylor. Appreciate it a lot. All right. We will move on to unfinished business and consider the approval of the Weyerhaeuser Portable Renovation Project. Do I hear a motion? Moved. Do I hear a second? I have a motion.
Okay. I'll second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion?
Just real quick, on the discussion on this, first off, do we have John Fisher here to talk on it?
No.
Okay. So since our last meeting, I did see the report and saw where the funding was coming from and that it was actually set aside for this type of a project.
Impact fees.
Yeah,
Yes.
with the impact fees. And so I think that all my questions from the last meeting have been satisfactorily answered.
Great. Thank you.
Additionally, I wanted to note that every other building has a portable with a bathroom facility for their preschool, and so this again is an equity issue that we need to make sure that we address, and that inflationary issues are going to be really important to consider. So we do need to get this project moving before too long.
All right. Any other discussion? Okay, hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Okay, on to new business. Consider approval of interstate travel for staff professional development. Tara Hancock. Moved. Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, moved and seconded. Any discussion? Okay, hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Consider approval to provide specialized education services.
Do we have, are you going to present on, is anybody going to present to us on this? Yeah.
Yes, please. Let's give you a microphone.
Can you hear me? Can you hear me? So this is just the continuing contract for our out-of-district special ed students with extreme behaviors. We have this every year. This is just our out-of-district kids that are in out-of-district placement that we can't have in our schools here. It's a lockdown facility for our students that are there.
Kristen, would you give an example of an out-of-district specialized need,
So it's a special school for students with extreme behavior disabilities that we can't serve in public schools. So it's a specialized school for students with on IEPs for extreme behavior. Is that good enough?
Yes, that's fine. Thank you. All right. Did we have a motion? No, we need a motion. Need a motion to approve. Moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. We'll go on to the policies. We have two policies tonight. Policy 4200, Parent Access and Safe and Orderly Learning Environment. Do I hear a motion to approve?
So, no, yes, I'll make the motion.
Okay. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you. Discussion?
Yeah, so I just want to clarify here. Gary, are you well versed to speak on this one? So I just want to verify that what this is, we're basically changing some of the wording in an existing policy regarding learning environments and making it so that parents will have access to observe their students in class.
I want to clarify, parents have always had the opportunity to have access with the exception of COVID, which has been, I'm sure, very frustrating for everyone involved. But this new policy, it just articulates that, puts it into writing, and also it does note that the observation must not disrupt the classroom or learning. So, and our typical practice has been a 24-hour notice to the school if you're going to participate, unless you're a classroom volunteer, in which that's organized anyway. And that's the same policy and procedure that we as school board directors also adhere to. Gary, did you want to add anything to that? Okay.
Okay. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. And then policy number, can't read it here, 2140, Comprehensive School Counseling Program. Would someone like to speak to that, or? It looks like mostly language change.
So this is a policy we already have in, that we already have. This is just the new language from WASDA, with the new language. I can't remember, I was looking at it, I apologize, I wasn't planning on speaking about this tonight. Anyways, so we already have a comprehensive school counseling program in all of our schools. So it's just the strikeouts and adding, it's based on the standards from the National Counseling Association and the Washington State School Counseling Association, and it's just aligning the standards our counselors have. Just like our teachers have standards they have to follow in the classroom, our counselors have standards they have to follow with their practice. So it's just updating that language. I know it looks like it's a lot, but it's all just based on the standards, and that they all have to carry an ESA certificate. You just can't hire any counselor that's not certificated to be in schools. Let me just look. I think that's pretty much it. And just that our counseling program really supports the academics in the schools. In the last year, I can just add that we've hired 2 mental health counselors for the district also. So we have one at the elementary level and one at the secondary level to help support the schools too. So on everything that's been going on in the schools. So any other questions?
Yeah, the only thing that I would add to that would be that we're starting to get away from the prototypical model that we grew up with, which are guidance counselors that we basically had for the schools, where now we're getting to more situational counselors that can help out with situations that come up with students and deal with it more on a negotiated and a standardized type of a format, so they have appropriate training to work with students in areas that they might need help socially, emotionally, health issues, those sorts of things.
And our counselors all sit on our district mental health team that I oversee, along with our nursing staff too. So we are addressing the needs of the whole child, not just individuals.
Okay, I'll entertain a motion to approve.
I move to approve policy 2140.
Do I have a second? Moved and seconded. Any further discussion?
I do have some things I'd like to just have a commentary on. One, in this last legislative session, there hasn't been a lot that's moved forward in education, but one thing that did come through in the subsequent budget was that there is additional funding for counselors. So the one thing that I do appreciate about this new policy amendment is that it does say that 80% of a counselor's time must be spent in supporting students and 20% in planning. In small and rural schools, that's a pretty tricky thing to do, because oftentimes we hire counselors to do a very small amount of counseling, and then oftentimes they're busy doing other responsibilities. And I think it's important that we have these policies in place, so when it comes time and we're looking at our budget and we're looking at our staffing, we can turn to the legislature and say we have a need. As Taylor so well really displayed for us today, we have a need for these counselors, and it is the state's responsibility to provide that, and not to be put on the backs of our community members in our levy dollars. This is something that should be funded by the state.
Okay, any other comments? Okay, hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. We move on from there to superintendent comments.
Well, thank you. I see my battery's about ready to run out here, so we'll try to cruise through this. We got it back up all right. First, I'd like to give a report out to what's going on in our buildings. And the first building that I have a report from is the high school. And the EHS Cruise Control dance team were recognized as the state academic champions. That's a huge... Friday, the high school hosted a student-led assembly with winter sports recognitions. The assembly also featured winter and spring sports videos produced by the video production class. The Cruiser baseball team will play at Cheney Stadium next Friday at 7 o'clock against Spanway Lake. That'd be a fun event to get to if you can make it. Tickets are available at the high school or at the gate, and that'll be at Cheney Stadium, April 1st. And in recognition, Mark Starhart, the head basketball coach, has announced his retirement. We're grateful for the 20 years of service to East Valley High School, Eatonville High School students and to players. So thank you, Mark, for all your time and devotion with that. Moving on. Moving on to the middle school. Spring sports, which is co-ed track and field and girls volleyball, begins after spring break, so they're excited to get started up with that. The middle school is also partnering up with the Theater of Arts Discipline to perform the Schoolhouse Rock Live Junior musical on April's 22nd and 23rd here at the high school auditorium. Our leadership and AVID students attended the Service Conference, a premier student leadership conference focusing on servant leadership, and they did that in early March. Also at the middle school, science teachers are attending professional development through the Project Lead the Way as part of our move towards project-based learning in science and the use of Project Lead the Way materials in our science classes for next year. And so this will be a continuum of services because we have Project Lead the Way already at the high school, so now we're trying to get it from the 6th grade up to the 12th grade, so it's a continuous program, and then eventually to get it from kindergarten up to the senior high school. And it's a wonderful way for students to get hands-on learning in the STEM sciences. Moving on to Eatonville Elementary, they are happy to report they have resumed meals in the cafeteria, both breakfast and lunch. Students seem to be responding in terms of learning routines that for many are completely new to them as far as using the cafeteria. So try to put your hats back on when you're in elementary in the process of going into the cafeteria for the first time. They're finally getting to that just now, and they're moving right along with it, and it's helping the entire program out. The structured learning community is traveling to Prairie Lanes next week as part of their community access plan. And the intermediate grades have been studying the civil rights era, and what's noteworthy about that is that students from Mrs. Antonson's 3rd grade class decided to put this learning into action by sponsoring a nonviolent, student-led protest focusing on demands to fix the broken slide on the Eatonville Elementary playground. They collected signatures, created a PowerPoint presentation, and invited Principal Leopold to the classroom to present their demands and signatures. So I anxiously await to see what the outcome is going to be with that. Weyerhaeuser, their lap walking program, Power Up, students have walked over 7,500 miles so far this year. Para Pam Torgerson manages the program and gives out lanyard tokens for miles walked. Weyerhaeuser also celebrated classified appreciation with a baseball theme complete with peanuts, popcorn, and hot dog lunch. The 3rd graders did their best to capture leprechauns using their STEM-created leprechaun catchers. They used new and recycled materials to craft some great creations. Those leprechauns were too tricky, maybe next year. Mrs. Piper's 3rd grade class was approached by an author publishing company to read and critique a book recently written. Aiden, who is bilingual, read the book to the class, which is written in both Spanish and English. Then the class wrote letters to the author. A video chat between the author and the students is planned to take place soon. So nice interactive learning. 4th graders are trying a new strategy this year based on their teachers' learning from the book Building Thinking Classrooms. Teachers Matt and Kathy Peterson randomly group students to work on non-permanent vertical surfaces. Unfortunately, we have some pictures, but we're unable to present them here. It would have a little more meaning to it. And at Columbia Crest Academy, during semester 2, one of the middle school elective classes teamed up with the kindergarten. They have established a kindergarten reading buddy program. 3 times a week, the middle school students meet with their kinder buddies to support them in a reading program. The middle school students are brainstorming ideas to run a fundraiser to buy books for their kindergarten buddies to enjoy at home. So keep an eye out for that to help promote some of that wonderful activities. This year, we have brought the band back after not having the program for 2 years due to the impacts of the pandemic. Mrs. Danielson has 1 period of advanced band and 1 period of beginning band. The advanced band students have taken on mentoring roles to the beginning band students. Once again, service learning going on at Columbia Crest. 2 advanced band students shared why they like this model. Carl, an 8th grader, said, "It's beneficial for the beginning band to learn from peers. It also helped me learn the note names better and other beginning foundations. And for us, it's fun while we learn." All right, Carl. We received many donations of instruments to get our school's band program restarted. As we look to next year, there is a high level of interest of incoming 5th and 6th graders to start band next year. So here's where we could all come in. We need to ramp up our donation program again, as most of our families are unable to provide an instrument or to be able to rent them. So if you happen to have an instrument that's sitting around that you want to donate, or if you know someone that might, please contact Columbia Crest and they'll make sure they take it to good use, because it's a huge program to be able to recycle some of these instruments. Maybe you have kids or you know, folks that have had them and they're just kind of sitting around in the closet. So we would definitely take advantage of that. And here's a note from Mrs. Danielson. She would like to highlight Dylan. Dylan has taken to learning many instruments. He plays the trombone in the advanced band, the alto saxophone in the beginning band, and at times some percussion as well. Aside from band, he enjoys playing electric guitar and bass. While in the high cap program, he is combining those two and working on a musical composition for one of his projects. What a way of taking it the loop around the entire learning process there. So congratulations, Dylan. And finally, at Columbia Crest, earlier this month, there was a whole school read-in on Read Across America Day that was enjoyed by all staff and students. Students got to read anywhere in the school, and who wouldn't like this, while enjoying a donut provided by the student council members. Direct quote from 1st grader Sam, "Eating donuts under my table while reading was the best thing that ever happened to me." Right on, Sam. I'm with you on that one. That concludes my report.
My tech person. All right, we'll move on to board comments, and we'll start with Taylor. Do you have anything more you'd like to say? What's going on in the schools? Good things.
I don't know. Sports are great. Love sports.
Do you play sports?
I play basketball and soccer, but
Okay.
I'm done with the sport season now. But I love my school district, and I'm glad to be a part of it and be graduating from it. So, yeah. Last year.
All right, thank you. All right, any other board members want to talk?
So I guess tonight the big thing that's kind of struck me was Taylor's comments. I think a lot of us were moved by that. I'm not sure where to go with that, but I think that we need to definitely address this. I think that a good start, especially after we just passed this policy here, talking about our comprehensive school counseling program. My request, I guess, to you, Gary, is that we set up a meeting between our mental health team, our student leaders from various schools, building administrators, and a couple of board representatives so we can assess the situation and come up with some sort of a plan to really address this, because I think that all of us up here don't like the direction that things are going. I know I've heard from some building administrators and also know that they're frustrated with some of the behaviors that have been kind of let go as everybody's been stressed by current events throughout the country and world. And I think that we need, as we're trying to get back to some sense of normalcy, we need to kind of rein everything back in, assess where we're at, and find a good plan so we can all be united in how we approach this. So that would be my request, is we set something up within the next 2 weeks so that we can at least have a plan to present next time we have a board meeting. Also, I know at the last meeting I had wanted to have some sort of a sensing session in here with the community, and that still stands. I will find a way to make myself available to be part of that. I know that most of the board will do the same. But yes, both Rick and Sammy Joe, your comments are well received, and I do know that we need to address those. I don't want it to be just an empty promise that we're going to sit down with the community. Really need to make something happen, and I'm committed to finding time myself in the next 2 weeks, even if it's just me standing outside with some of the community members.
A couple of things. First of all, Krista and your team, congratulations. That is fantastic to go through an audit and to have such stellar results. Thank you so much for the hard work. We know that's hard work, and we appreciate you very, very much, and your team. So please give them our gratitude. I second Matt in requesting a gathering of the coalition around mental health and behavior for our students. I would love to, I know all of us on the board would love to be a part of that, and I would suggest that Taylor also be a part of that. So making that happen sooner rather than later would be fantastic. I also have another request. I know that we've gone down to one meeting, and I would like to, as a board member, propose that we increase to 2 meetings. I feel like we are not accomplishing everything that we need to, and that we're not receiving the reports that we need to in a timely manner. So I would like to propose that we consider as a board meeting twice a month. And hopefully we'll be able to get back in the buildings, and I think that would be fantastic, and to see students and have students present to us. So I don't know if that's a matter of consensus. I know that our board chair is not here, so I'd like to make sure he's part of that conversation, but I'm just kind of putting that out there. I guess what I'd like to end with is communication has always been something that we are striving to improve on. And there's one thing that's always made Eatonville a great community, and Eatonville School District a great institution, and it really is the families. And every community has its own personality and its own design, and every voter has the right to vote however they see fit. But the one thing that will always be a constant in my mind, and I believe in the board, is that this is a nonpartisan position, and that when we make decisions, we make them based on our children and what's best for children. And I do wholeheartedly, 100%, support the fact that families are the #1 stakeholder in our children. And your values are taught at home. And we should be supporting family values in our schools, all families' values. And we should not be dictating family values here. This is a nonpartisan place. And I want to do what's best for kids, and I want to unite our community, and I think that starts with all of us looking at each other and making a concerted effort to do what's best for children. That's my commitment to you as parents, and that's my commitment to the children of the school district. And I think that's it.
All right, and I echo what all was said tonight, and I'm in total agreement with it, that we, and I think that at least I have felt lately with the ability to have the freedom to look and smile at one another, and to be able to talk to one another without muffled muffled voices all the time. And yet I've seen a lot of, in just the last 2 weeks, I've seen and observed a lot of people really trying to come together. And I think that that is so refreshing to me to see. I think that isolation wasn't just COVID. I think we became isolated. We withdrew and we didn't reach out to one another. And I see that happening again. And so I think these things that we're talking about will happen. I think we can help make those things happen. And I really feel very positive about that. And I'm pretty excited about it, that we can move forward. So I would like to thank each and every one of you for coming tonight. I think that having people in the audience is a good thing, and we want to continue doing that. So thank you for taking the time, because it does take time out of your evening to be able to come and to participate. So thank each and every one of you for being here. So if there's no other business or any other comments. Pardon? I'll make an exception and let you do that.
Are you referring to a bid program? Yeah, so right. Yeah, so absolutely 100%. So if you're not using your computer, how would you recommend that we get the information out to you?
I think we just need to clarify something, because my husband and I too are contractors, and I'll tell you, it just rubs me the wrong way, the way government works. So I get it. So I'm going to tell everybody in the community who's a subcontractor or a contractor right now how to do it. You need to get on to the state small works list. And we are required by law to submit these bids to this and choose a contractor off of a state approved list. So if you can go onto the state small works list and put your name on there, then they will email you and they will tell you when their bid's available. And it's just one of those systems that exists, and it's a requirement by law. So we're telling you that now, and now you have the opportunity. Thank you for bringing that to our attention. Yeah, exactly. But right, I looked at it. There's a reason that we took a second look at it, Rick, and that's because I'm looking at it with the private sector eye, the same way you are, and really giving it a shake in my head. But I'm also in the private sector, and I'm also understanding right now people are not accepting bids because they cannot get contractors or subcontractors. They cannot get materials. And if we got one bid right now, we're going to have, except for, and I could have two. My husband and I could have done it ourselves, but we're not on the small schools roster. And so legally we can't. And so that's the issue there.
So with the guidance counselors and all that, there's nothing being snuck in there that cuts the parents out of that, to where they're not being told that there's a problem with their kids. Because I know that's a big topic right now in the state, where they're trying to, the age of consent, and they're trying to hide all this stuff. And I don't want to see them slide any of that under the rug. If they're rearranging words, why are they doing it?
Okay, I would like to address that. No, we don't have anything in our policies or in our statutes that leave anybody out or
So
don't communicate.
if kids get caught in the bathroom, their parents the first.
Yes,
person, right? It's gonna
absolutely.
stay that way here.
Absolutely.
Okay. All right.
To further address that, I know that we have specifically changed wording in recommended policies or just outright denied them if it, regardless of what it was, if it did not fully involve the parent in the information and the decision making.
Yeah, that would be terrible if they change that here, because that might be okay some places, but it's not okay here. I do have one more. Okay, one more, and then I'm done. With, Rhonda, you talking about the families being, the center of everything that we do and all that, and values coming from the family. What can we do, and what are you doing to make sure that the teachers that have kind of overstepped their bounds, what kind of disciplinary action is there? Like, are you guys making sure that something done about that? Because I have so many emails and texts about things that people are concerned about that are legitimate concerns. It's really disturbing, some of it.
So employee issues are not something that we can talk in public forum about. And so those are concerns that, right. So the process would be if a parent has a complaint, the first step should be to talk to the teacher. The second step should be to talk to their principal, their administrator. And then if that doesn't work, then they go to the superintendent. And then from there, then the board would be engaged. And the reason that we as a board always take a step back is if it makes it to the board, we want to make sure that we don't have to recuse ourselves because we've meddled in the muck in the midst of it. So if you bring something to the board, then we are all present to hear your statement and are able to support you. But it always, teacher first. Like if you're a parent and you have an issue with the teacher, go to the teacher.
Right. No, I know, and I would.
So,
But
and then
it's
follow
just,
those.
like, I'm serious. People don't know where to go. And so it goes right back to what I was talking about with communication. Like, we need to go right back and throw out the information again. Throw that process back in front of these parents. Send out like newsletters from the board or from the district addressing the communication stuff. We just have to hammer it in because people don't know what to do. They're asking me, and I don't know what to do. I'm the wrong person to be
Well,
asking. I'm trying to help.
Thank
but-
you for bringing it to our attention. And secondly, I think we all need to realize that we haven't been doing this for 2 years. Everybody's taken a break. And so we need to refresh and we need to reiterate and we need to communicate better. So thank you for bringing that to our attention. I think it's wise for us and I think it's wise for our principals to also remind parents and maybe even put it in their newsletter. So thank you. I think
again,
that's really
I'll
wise.
say it again one more time. Most people aren't going to come up here and make a fool of themselves in front of everybody like I do. So you guys have to remember, like, we have to find a way to throw it out there for everybody to give their feedback. I mean, everybody wants to talk about equal opportunity these days and stuff, and they don't have an equal opportunity to let you guys know what's up. So we need to.
Real quick, Rick, real quick on that same thing with issues, specific personnel issues. We as the board we hear lots of complaints, but it does have to go through the proper chain to the point to where, like, even myself with my own children in the district, there might be people here who get parent emails, or me as a father, not as a board member, discussing things about my children, just because as the board, it's not the appropriate initial venue for some of these issues. So I very much appreciate your question, but it is something that needs to go through a proper chain of command to get escalated to us. Just like Rhonda said, we can't be the ones that are meddling in every decision. Yep. Chain of command, teacher, principal, superintendent, and then superintendent will bring it to us. And if you feel like you're running into a dead end at one spot, go to the next one, and then go to the next one. Yes.
Okay. All right, thank you all so much, and this was good conversation. It was good questions, and as far as getting that communication out, and as I was sitting here listening and thinking about that, I mean, it's been a long time since I've had kids in school, obviously, but I didn't hesitate to go to the teacher if something that was said or done bothered me, because I was there. I wanted my kids to know I was there for them. In the same token, if I got a call from the school and my child was in trouble and they were the guilty party, then I went straight to my child and took care of it there. So anyway, the chain of command in life is a certain way, and it's not a difficult chain to follow, and we can put it out. I just say teacher first. Just if you're having difficulty there, that's where you start. But don't stop if you don't feel like you get anything out of it. So, all right, we're going to close this meeting now, and thank you again for coming. Meeting adjourned.